I had no idea that Russell Brand was a theist. Now let's say what he has to say.
Hello, I'm Russell Brand, this is The Truth. Do subscribe here. Now, Stephen Fry's got to be one of the most beloved people in this country, if not the entire world. He's made us think about depression, homosexuality, cleverness in a different way. He's General Melchett from Blackadder, for God's sake. He's one of the most beloved figures in our cultural pantheon, and he's clever as all hell. And here I am, about to get into a debate, if not an argument, with him, because Stephen Fry really aggressively doesn't believe in God, and I really do believe in God.
Russell Brand, just want to point out to you the fact that atheism and agnosticism is high amongst the whole world, including America. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. For the sole purpose of the fact that it's all bullshit. And I figured that out in 2013. Fully. My last year being a religious person was 2012, but not as like the going to church constantly, but as the one who believed in God without going to church. But then I really looked at my Bible and I'm like, I don't believe this horse shit. So, anyway, I'm sorry. I just want to stay a fact there.
On a TV show to talk about atheism and God, let's have a look at it now.
Suppose it's all true, and you walk up to the pearly gates and you are confronted by God. What will Stephen Fry say to him, her, or it?
I will basically, what's known as theodicy, I think. I'll say bone cancer in children? What's that about? How dare you? How dare you create a world in which there is such misery that is not our fault? It's not right. It's utterly evil. Why should I respect a capricious, mean-minded, stupid God who creates a world which is so full of injustice and pain? Because the God who created this universe, if it was created by God, is quite clearly a maniac. Utter maniac. Yes, the world is very splendid, but it also has in it insects whose whole life cycle is to burrow into the eyes of children and make them blind. They eat outwards from the eyes. And why? Why did you do that to us? It's perfectly apparent that he is monstrous, utterly monstrous, and deserves no respect whatsoever. The moment you banish him, life becomes simpler, purer, cleaner, more worth living, in my opinion.
Anyway.
So, you just heard what Stephen Fry said, and he isn't wrong. Even moderate Christians would say, yeah, he's right. Our God kind of does have some psychological issues. Maybe he has a split personality, and even moderate Christians will admit that. But Stephen Fry isn't wrong. Why? If there is a God, and if it's all true, why does he make children suffer with cancer? Why does he make anyone suffer with cancer? Why does he make people suffer with autoimmune diseases? Why does he make people suffer from disease that Stephen Hawking has? Why does LHS? Why does he make people suffer from MS? If there is a God, then why is there poor people in Africa? Why was there slavery in the United States? Why is there hatred amongst anyone of different skin colors, religions, or creeds? If there truly was a God, there wouldn't be that much hatred towards anyone, considering that Jesus Christ said to love one another to treat one another as you would like to be treated, and love one another like you love your neighbor. Can you answer that?
What Fry is talking about, in my opinion, is literalism, a literal interpretation of doctrine. In this case, because it's an Irish Catholic interview, a Gay Byrne, he's talking about a literal translation of the Gospels. And other than like mentioning some phenomena in nature, like burrowing insects and that, talking entirely about human behaviour and human value systems. Now, Joseph Campbell, the cultural mythologist, said all religions are true in that the metaphor is true. So what Campbell's saying there is that religion is an attempt to explain the unknowable, in the same way that science is an attempt to explain the unknowable. Science can explain the mechanics of the universe and can explain the mechanics of biology and anatomy, but can it ever explain the why? The answer is no. It can.
Pause right there. Science does explain the why. Science has kicked most of the religious beliefs people held. Science has kicked the sun god belief. Science has kicked pretty much any belief so far in the ass, because science has been showing FACTS, facts, and I thought you were a smart guy. I mean, you're funny in the movie that came out in 2012, Rock of Ages. You're funny in that movie, but you're just funny, that's all. But other than that, smart? No, I don't think you are, because if you truly were open-minded, Russell Brand, you would, I don't know, let's see, kind of read Dawkins, Hitchens, the one who wrote The Universe from Nothing. I have it. You would read A Brief History in Time by Stephen Hawking. You know, you're not really open-minded, you're just closed-minded.
Never explain why this is happening. What we all want to know is there a reason for us being here? And what is the nature of the universe? What is the nature of our consciousness? This is an interesting book called Biocentrism by someone called Robert Lanza. Here he tackles the idea of creation and addresses the flaws, in the same way that Stephen Fry is addressing the flaws in Christian doctrine. Robert Lanza here addresses the flaws in received physics. In the last...
Flaws in received physics? Physics is a science. What flaws are in them?
Few decades, there's been considerable discussion of a basic paradox in the construction of the universe as we know it. For example, if the Big Bang had been 1 part in a million more powerful, it would have rushed out too fast for the galaxies and life to develop. If the strong nuclear force were decreased to 2%, atomic nuclei wouldn't hold together, and plain vanilla hydrogen would be the only kind of atom in the universe. If the gravitational force were decreased by just a hair, stars, including the sun, would not ignite. These are three of more than 200 physical parameters within the solar system and universe, so exact that it strains credulity to propose that they are random, even if that's exactly what standard contemporary physics baldly suggests. Terence McKenna, a kind of wacky shaman fella, said,
Okay, may I suggest once again read Stephen Hawking, A Brief History of Time. He explains all that shit.
That the perspective of contemporary science is, give us one free miracle and we'll explain the rest. That free miracle being that the universe sprang into being with these exact rules that are required for life and consciousness to exist. I suppose...
Okay, give us one miracle and we can explain everything based on the miracle. Here's a reality, Russell Brand. There are no such things as miracles! No such thing as miracles! Are there things that science can't explain? Yes. Are there things religion can't explain? All the time. But, I mean, it is convincing that there might be something coming from your point of view, because, sometime in, I think it was in South America in the, like 1800s, early 1900s. The sun was orange and people stood at it after praying on their rosaries, and they got to the Holy Mother Mary thing, and all the diseases they had mysteriously disappeared. Science can't explain that. I'll give you credit to that, but I mean, But seriously, how is saying that there's a God who's vindictive and evil towards women, how you say that God's nice?
What Christianity and Islam and Judaism and Hinduism and Jainism and Buddhism are trying to do is make sense of our position, our perspective as awake, conscious, sentient beings within the infinite. For me, as a person who believes in God, my understanding of God is this, that my consciousness emanates from a perspective, and it passes through endless filters, the filters of the senses, the subjective filters of the senses and of my own biography. This is good, this is bad, this is wrong, I want that, I don't want that. But behind all of that, there is an awakeness, an awareness that sees it all. And it's in you too, and it's in Stephen Fry, and it's in the man that was interviewing him. It's in all of us, an awakeness, an interconnectivity. None of us can ever know if there is a God, but we do know there is an us. None of us can ever know if there's wrong or right, but we
do know if there's a wrong or right. Slavery, that's obviously wrong. The ending of slavery, that was right. The Civil Rights Movement, that was right. Segregation, that was wrong. We know there's a wrong and right.
do know there is an us.
What do you think Jesus was then? I think he was a very good soul. He was an inspiration as a teacher. I do think a lot of the things he says are actually nonsense when you examine them. They seem very beautiful, but a bit like the Dalai Lama, they're actually twee and completely impractical. And in that sense, an insult to the human spirit. Like, let him who is without sin cast the first stone. At first, you think that's rather wonderful. Yes, what hypocrites. How could you possibly have a justice system? Nobody would ever go to prison.
For me, Fry's conclusion that we should abandon God to be free, I believe the opposite, that we should embrace God to be free. Not embrace dogma, not embrace doctrine, but look, because within religion, even the most conventional religions, there's so many beautiful things. In fact, the thing Stephen Fry said there about let he who is without sin cast the first stone comes from a story in which Mary Magdalene, a prostitute, was being condemned, and Christ said, hold on a second, before we all start getting leery about Mary Magdalene, you've got her all perfect, are you? And now Fry says, how would you apply that principle judiciously in contemporary justice? Well,
what you, Russell Brand, are not understanding is the fact that if you would take what Jesus said, he without sin may cast the first stone, and put it to contemporary justice today, if someone were to rob a convenience store, and someone who's never done before, they're thinking, I never done this, and they cast the first stone, then everyone else is just joining in on the murder and throwing stones at someone. And in a lot of places around the world, prostitutes, women, I know this is big in Africa still, they're stoning to death in Africa, which is sad. And I want to correct something you said. When you said that we should believe in God to be free, when the slaves believed in God here in America, where was their free? They were enslaved. Where was their freedom? Abraham Lincoln gave them their freedom. Where was the Pilgrim's God when they were dying from smallpox and all these diseases coming on the Mayflower? There wasn't. The majority of them died when they were like, oh God, help me heal. When they had no medicine at the time, so without medicine, of course they were going to die. The majority of them died from sepsis, which is poison that the body makes towards the death stage. Point being is, we don't need to believe in God to be free. We need to let the belief of God go in order to be free.
I would say that when you are condemning murderers or paedophiles, to acknowledge within us all is the capacity for evil. That, as Solzhenitsyn, the Russian writer, said, the line between good and evil runs not between nations, religions, continents, or creeds, but through every human heart. So when you are judging a paedophile, when you are judging the worst kind of criminals imaginable, to acknowledge that the thing in them that has manifest this negativity is also within us. And that our first duty is to negotiate with the negativity within ourselves. And that if we can successfully negotiate with that, then we can create a better society. Jill Bolte Taylor, the neurologist that had a brain hemorrhage in the left side of her brain, experienced consciousness in a different way. When the conscious, nagging, left-sided mind that sees everything in materialistic and macho, rationalistic terms abated, limitless energy became available to her. She noticed that, in fact, her consciousness was a system of filtration, and when the left brain was quieted, she felt herself as part of a complete consciousness. And no one can argue that, you know, when a lion eats a gazelle, it can't be very nice for the gazelle. But what you can argue is that in infinite space, that doesn't matter. Then the tiny fragment of reality that we experience through our materialistic senses, our eyes that only see a limited range of light, our ears that only hear a limited range of vibration, the things that we experience here, we can't make any absolute conclusions from them. No one knows if there is a God or if there isn't a God. No one knows which interpretation is closest. We know that religion has long been used and continues to be used to justify the objectives of man, whether that's crazy terrorists in Paris or a great big Catholic church that was born of an alliance between an
Religion is used to justify the actions of man. Okay, to justify, so you're saying that, so you already know that the shooting in France was wrong, but are you saying that their religion makes it okay for them to have done that? I hope really that's not what you're saying.
And some radical rebel group. When Constantine converted to Christianity, that's about materialism, that's about intellectual colonialism. And the thing that Fry condemns, I also condemn, because that is materialistic, humanistic dogma. That's not spirituality.
Humanistic dogma. Oh, and to put on the other thing, the Inquisition, the internment camps of the 1940s in the United States. Yeah, that was all to justify man. The Holocaust? Jesus Christ. But humanistic dogma? Humanists are amongst religious people as well.
That's not mysticism. That's not the acceptance that we are temporary, that our consciousness is connected to all consciousness. It doesn't matter where you come from, whether it's Freudian analysis or Darwinianism or the analysis of the cosmos. From the quantum to the cosmic, there is an unknown force behind things.
What's your attitude to...
There isn't an unknown force behind things. We know what the force is.
People who say, well, I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual. I have to say, I get very worried by people using words like energy, bad energy and good energy, and positive energy and negative energy. All those things have no meaning to me, and I don't think they have any real meaning. But, you know, if people want to grasp a crystal...
You can't judge all religion on the most stupid bits. That's like judging all football on the most stupid bits. I don't like football. Why is that? Well, when Eric Cantona kicked that bloke. This is outrageous. The hugging saint, you look at her here, learn more about her here. Amma said, the question's not, is there a God? The question is there suffering? Yes, there is suffering, and what can we do about suffering? We can help one another, and we can love one another. Now, if you can do that through atheism, then do it through atheism.
That's what a lot of people do through atheism, and a lot of people who are depressed and oppressed by members of their church, sometimes they are suicidal, and atheism saves their lives. You know, and to point to another thing, you can judge religion based on its stupidest bits. For example, why in Catholic churches, men have to take off their hats, but women can wear them. Why in the Jewish synagogues, why do Jewish men have to wear yarmulkes and the women can't? Why in the Jewish religion, women can't know any of the teachings, but only the men can? Explain that.
But a lot of people need to know that this is temporary, that we are the temporary manifestation of something greater, something complete and whole, something timeless and spaceless and absolute. And every dogma in the world has been trying to tackle and understand that. Art has been trying to represent it. Science has been trying to explain it. And no one can. We are up against the parameters. And I believe that without embracing something spiritual, something whole, something beyond human thought, we have no chance of saving ourselves.
Religion is going to be the end of all man.
And saving the planet. We are all connected to consciousness. We are all connected to one another. And to me, that sounds a little bit like God. That is some true news. Or is it true? What is the nature of truth? Is there any true news? Maybe this isn't even true news. Oh no. But do subscribe here.
No words.